Hello, and welcome back on BERNAMA today. You're still with us, and I'm Mileno, and in the studio, as you can see, I have the very lovely Datin Shalini Ganendra. Hello and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us in the studio. We had that short conversation before the show came back on, and we wanted to find out a little bit more about fine arts in general and what you do at the gallery. But before we go into that, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about yourself, because I did some reading, and you were not trained in this. I mean, you are by profession or by education, or was a lawyer?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, how did that transformation happen?
Law is very flexible.
Yes, it is.
First of all, I trained as a lawyer. I practiced on Wall Street for a number of years, and when I settled in Malaysia, I had the opportunity to really pursue a passion and develop a cultural enterprise, which is what Shalini Ganendra Fine Art is. And so, as you know, since 1998, this is what I've been doing, and developing a platform for Malaysian artists locally and internationally, and showing international artists in Malaysia.
Okay, so Shalini Ganendra Fine Art, what would you describe it? Is it a gallery? Is it an institution? What would you call it?
It's really I would say it's an independent art space.
Okay.
And we do have a commercial gallery arm, but very importantly, we also have a non-profit educational segment, which really cultivates audiences and informs audiences, all for free, about how to appreciate fine art and design and architecture.
So how do those programs happen? Are they scheduled programs? How do we find out about it? Is it on a regular basis, monthly? You have something going on. So how does that work?
They're scheduled programs, and they are listed on our website and Facebook. They are not regular in terms of every 2 months, because, for example, the Vision Culture Lectures, which started in 2011, has seen curators from the Guggenheim and Smithsonian and the ICP and Rubin museums come through Malaysia and speak at our gallery, and we also share them with local universities. Those lectures tend to happen on a shorter term, sometimes longer term basis, because the curators' schedules are very much in demand and challenged. But we do tend to give about 1 month's notice for the lectures, and UNESCO will be actually publishing a series of those lectures as their Arts in Asia publication in December.
Okay, so we can keep abreast with what's possibly out there in terms of exposure to. We mentioned about this cultivating. Well, I think you have this culture of encounters, but it's cultivating the eye. So perhaps before we talk about how you cultivate the eye, what is this culture of encounters? What is the philosophy behind it?
Really, it's about making art very approachable, and encountering art in a living setting. That's really what the gallery residence is about, and also about cultural encounter and multidisciplinary encounter. So Shalini Ganendra Fine Art focuses on art, design and architecture, and the confluence of the three, because it is very fluid. So the space itself, it's a culture of encounter, because we encounter Malaysian culture, vernacular architecture, we encounter international and local art culture in the space, as well as design culture.
I think one of the things is that I think everybody has at the back of their mind is that art is subjective. How do you actually define what is considered I don't know, if you're talking about commercially viable, what is considered aesthetically beautiful, and hence the question of cultivating the eye. To each his own is a general phrase and perception. What is your take on it, or what's your thoughts on that?
It depends really on what the purpose and outcome is. If one is appreciating art, it is really purely a subjective exercise. If one is collecting art, again, it's subjective, but then if an investment element comes into it, it becomes objective. One really does need good advice if one is not as knowledgeable about the art world. And that takes research, and it takes a trained eye to develop and really find the background information on pieces and
I understand that Shalini Ganendra does offer that service?
That's right.
But what does it cover? And
it's essentially an advisory service. We advise clients on how to build up their collections, whether they want to focus on investment or aesthetic, and often, I mean, we like to combine the two, obviously, but there are some clients who really are very propelled by investment more than aesthetics. So then it's a different set of criteria that come into play.
And is that really, I know it's out there in terms of it being an investment, but how large is that market, especially when we talk about Asia and Malaysia specifically?
In terms of investment?
Yeah.
That's really a different segment on its own. But
Right.
what I can say is that there are a select group of Malaysian artists who really can make an impact in the investment art world. And to do so, they would have to have a global imprint. So that's really what one should be looking for in terms of Malaysian artists who are investment grade. There is a local support for them, but artists do need to have an international name to be sustainable.
No, exactly. I mean, it's not as if we don't have talent. The platform to shine is something that...
There's a lot of talent.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent.
Infrastructure is required, and that's developing, and I think that it's a growing field.
Right, and exposure, really.
That requires discipline and professionalism like anything else.
Right, it's a profession, right?
It is a profession.
So you have to
it is
work,
a profession, and you have to work at it,
hours.
absolutely. And you have to strategize, and you
Right.
have to have a platform, and you have to have good representation, and you have to understand what you're doing.
Right. We have some visuals I think we're sharing.
Exactly's.
What is this?
Exactly's. It's Knotted Nests. That's an exhibition that's just about to open. He is one of our most important artists. We've shown him in New York, and he's done very well. He also has a very strong collector base locally, and he loves working with Malaysian iconography. And there's a lot of Chinese allegory in his work as well as Malaysian allegory. This is Issa Ho, an award-winning Taiwanese artist who was actually introduced to us through a curator at the ICP. And she came through and did a special photo project. This is our wonderful Pavilion Now project, which we launched this year, which is a design installation architecture project. This pavilion is created out of bamboo. We worked with the Orang Asli on this project, and it's designed by Q Jade Soul architects.
This is at the gallery.
It is all at the gallery. It's very much of a living, energized space to which we welcome everyone.
So I can imagine it morphing constantly.
It is. It's so exciting.
I have to say this.
It's so exciting.
I have to say this because I think a lot of people do not see the potential or how important art is. I think perhaps you can share your views on this. I have my personal opinions in terms of how art enriches our lives and how necessary it is. But I think people think it's frivolous or it's not necessary. You know, you concentrate on the serious things. What is the perception that needs to change here?
I think that perception is already very much ingrained in our culture, because Malaysia has a culture of appreciating the arts, whether it be textile, wood carving, you know, the traditional art forms. And I think the leap in terms of understanding is for contemporary. And most people mistaken contemporary for abstract. Contemporary is just about living art.
Right.
And it's about beautifying our spaces.
Right.
It's about making ourselves feel better. What do we look at when we get up in the morning? Does it make you feel good? Does it improve your life and your quality of life? That's really fundamentally what it's about.
It's about thinking of that when you wake up in the morning, how is this going to
How is it going to change your environment?
Yeah, and my view on the world sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And your understanding of the world. You know, what is the artist trying to say?
Yeah.
And do you agree with it? Does it make you think? All those aspects.
Exactly. I mean, I think I wanted to hit the point of about questioning, because I think this is the process that happens as an artist, as a creative person. You question what the status quo is. You question what this is about. I mean, if you look at something, I think this cultivating the eye is probably that journey of, you know, exploring what are the possibilities. What do you see beyond what you see?
Exactly.
You know, in that sense.
Well, I think you got it.
No,
I think you understand a lot more than you give yourself credit for. I think you just summarized that very nicely.
No, exactly.
Absolutely
But
right.
what I'm trying to get at is that we all have a base appreciation, like
Absolutely.
you mentioned, with
and the
the
key is not to be fearful or intimidated by this presentation of art as elitist and incredibly intellectual.
Yeah.
Put that aside.
Yeah.
You just engage with the piece as in terms of how it speaks to you.
However it appeals to you.
The conversation that you have with it, and you don't have to
Right.
like it even if everyone else likes it.
Now, how do we, because I think a lot of times art does not get enough credit where credit is due. And how do, we have the term starving artists all the time. So how do we support that whole industry or platform in order for it to flourish or grow?
I think education institutions have to be strong.
Right.
And artists have to be taught to research and to question and to be multilateral thinkers and multidisciplined. So actually you'll find that the most successful artists, for example, like Ai Weiwei, he has a numerous amount of expertise under his belt, which you see as a confluence in his work. So that he's an uber artist, but certainly at a very fundamental, basic level, there need to be certain skills that are taught artists in addition to the technique. Artists need to be able to think.
Oh, well, exactly, because you want to spur that process
and
in someone.
question and be able to answer those questions in a thorough and in a convincing way.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I like to call it a conversation starter in a sense where, you know, you have a room and, you know, people are so disconnected these days and everybody is doing their own
and
thing.
It brings people together.
Yeah, art has that ability, as, you know,
absolutely,
with a lot of cultural things.
It's a cultural bridge.
Yes, isn't it?
It
bridges languages as well.
It does.
Because you don't have to speak the same language to understand what this picture says to you.
That's why we say it's cultural encounter.
There you go, cultural encounters. Hence, my education for today for cultural encounters. Now, how do we get in touch, or how do we find out a little bit more about Shalini Ganendra, or in totality, how do we get involved if we want to?
All our programs are free. We have a website, www.shaliniganendra.com.
Right.
We have a Facebook, SGFA. Just like us, follow us, and all our information is posted there. The gallery is open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 7 p.m.
Yeah, that's right. So, but public holidays is by appointment if you want to. SGFA is the Facebook site, and I just repeat, the website is www.shaliniganendra, that's SHALINIGANENDRA.com. Of course, find out a bit more. I mean, I think it's a cultural exploration, pique the curiosity in order for us to, you know, find that spur to grow. What would you tell an aspiring, not maybe an artist, a viewer,
how to appreciate?
Yeah.
Look and view as much as you can. Talk to experts. Read about what you want to learn about, and think about the issues at hand. And it's really very much of a holistic experience. And enjoy what you're doing. Don't be intimidated by it.
There's no right or wrong to it, right?
There really isn't a right or wrong until you start putting serious money behind your selections.
That's where the investment part comes in.
And that really is a different segment.
Okay, and will is there that graduation to that process if someone, you know, people do have a lot of ways to spend their money, and why not this way?
It's all psychological, isn't it? I mean, it's about spending power.
Yeah.
And it's about how much risk one is willing to take.
Yes, and
that's it.
I've seen things like gain weight simply by someone's pure belief that they want it, or by individual preference.
Yes.
And hence the question of, you know,
you mean supply demand, is
yes,
that what you're talking about?
Exactly.
And artist value going, and that's a trend.
Yeah.
You know, that's market speculation.
Right.
Investment goes beyond that.
Right.
Because
okay.
you want something that is sustainable.
Right. So there is something
that the bottom
beyond
won't drop off, that you're not the last in and you know, holding the
suddenly that's it.
That's right.
Okay, we'll do. Now, like I said, if you want to find out a little bit more, go onto the website, learn a little bit, and enrich your life a little bit today, and maybe you can have a different conversation with the people around you, and perhaps inspire them in the process. Thank you very much for sharing your time. We hope to be able to educate ourselves a little bit more in the world of arts.
I think you've done very well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. That's all the time that we have. Bye for now.